Hello, friends. Welcome in. Happy Tuesday, November 19, 2024. Hope the day's going well so far. May I be the first to say good afternoon. I hope I got it in there. It's 12:06. Thank you for being around this afternoon for the Matt Murphy Radio Show. My name, conveniently, is Matt Murphy.
And
I'm
works
happy to
out
be
well.
here. What? Who is that? Ken Weaver. I haven't seen you in a month of Sundays, it feels like. Hello, Ken Weaver. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm trying to figure out how to do this again. It's been a long time since I've had 4 straight days away from the workplace.
Well, inquiring minds want to know, mainly me. Did you have a good time?
I did. Had a real good time.
Was it R&R related?
No, not necessarily. Just had some family in.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah, we all just sat around and visited. Played with my little brand new 19-month-old nephew.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, he had a good time, and we went somewhere and ate. Then we just visited.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Did he throw up on you at any point?
Nope, not me.
That's what 19-month-olds.
Well, I mean, just wait a few minutes, and Belle can accommodate you if that's what you're looking for. I mean,
I'm here to help.
hello, Belle. How are you?
I'm good.
Nice to see you. I didn't see you yesterday because I was doing the old 3 to 7 shift.
What do we call that?
That's the drive.
No.
What?
We call it being a daypart trader.
Oh yeah, daypart trading. Sure, sure. I used to think being a daypart trader was something to do with the stock market, but apparently it's not. It's something that it's designed to hurt Belle K.
Slightly different.
You know, Weaver. It's funny when I was a kid. My grandparents would talk about visiting. We're just visiting.
Yeah.
And I would want to know what we're going to do.
Right.
We're just visiting.
We're just visiting.
And I didn't get it. When you're a kid, you don't get it.
No.
When you're grown, you get it.
Yes.
Grown people can just sit and visit and talk and
Right.
what's been going on with you.
You don't have to do anything.
When you're a kid, you get together with your other friends, and it's like, okay, what is the big task we're accomplishing today?
What are we doing today?
We're going to go ride 5 miles on our bikes.
We're going to build a fort in the woods.
Yeah.
We're doing something. We have a plan.
We're going to dam up the stream and cause a backup of water that creates a lake in the back of the neighborhood.
Yes.
Not that I ever did that. We're going to burn down 2 acres of wooded property behind the house. Brian, my brother,
Yeah.
matches.
We're going to eat my neighbor's strawberries and steal his cigars from the open window of his pickup.
Whoa, sir, that is just blatant theft. What's going on here?
That was my cousin Steve's idea.
We're going to get in a fight the week before we're supposed to go to Disney World, and we're going to hit our older brother in the head with a baseball bat and then beg him not to tell the parents so we don't not get to go to Disney World.
Did that actually happen to you?
Absolutely.
Wow. Did he tell?
No.
Okay.
But the knot. The knot on he had a huge knot on his head, and he
gave it away.
He kind of gave it away. What happened to your head, Brian?
What are you talking about?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Fine, I fell down.
He wasn't acting any different, which that's my brother. Well, we got lots to get into. Ken Weaver's got the newscast, and I'm glad to have Ken back in the house. Weaver.
Yes, sir.
I need you this Saturday. Are you there for me this Saturday? We need you. All of the SEC, absent those awful Crimson Tide fans, need you. Are you there for us, Weaver?
Dude, they're having a sale on yarn
Oh, no.
over at one of those orange stores
Are you
in
still crocheting?
Murfreesboro. Yeah. Got some more oven mitts to do. Thanksgiving's right around the corner. I'm going to make one in the shape of a turkey.
I think you should be forbidden from talking about football on the air anymore after your just absolutely atrocious prediction regarding Georgia's loss last
I didn't
weekend.
make a prediction.
Yes, you did.
I said I didn't feel
Flat out
good about it.
You said they're going to get their asses kicked.
I didn't feel good. What, did you see Carson Beck play against Ole Miss? No, you didn't, Bell, because you don't watch football. Ken did.
Did they win?
Against Ole Miss?
Did
no,
they win their last game?
Yes.
All right.
I don't know where the dude's been hiding, but his twin brother, who can't play football, has been playing for him, and apparently he decided to come out and play.
Yeah, and the defense pretty much locked things down in that second half.
It was pretty good, Ken.
Maybe you don't criticize the man for trying to share the ball with the other team.
Well, look, I'm just calling balls and strikes like I see it. I don't plan to be on the expert panels of these sports radio shows anytime soon. Although I was over, they do it. Ken, they invite me over once a year over there on the zone.
Yeah. One door over there.
Oh, yeah, one door over. I get invited one time a year so they can pick on the Georgia fan.
Hey, you told me you had sweet seats for the Georgia game.
He
Yes.
did. He was on the field.
That's what I was going to say. You said you had sweet you had a sweep. The picture you posted was you on the sidelines.
I have no idea how it happened.
None?
I have no idea. So I have no idea how any of this happened. And I'm going to tell the story one time. And at some point this week, I'll post photos. But thank you to a good friend of the show. I can't figure out why he would offer me this opportunity. But Cameron Sexton, it was Tennessee Legislative Day in the presidential suite of Sanford Stadium in Athens, Georgia. And so the Secretary of State of Georgia invited Cameron over.
All right.
To be a part of the thing. And I don't know, they may do this every year. I don't know how it works. So for some reason, Sexton called me and asked me if I wanted to go. And I don't know what I did to deserve this, but of course I said yes. So I was already planning on, well, anyway, long story short, we get over there, and Sexton has, as you might expect, he's the Secretary of State of the state of Tennessee. He has some security, and they tell us that we're allowed to go down before the game onto the field. And he said, "Do you want to go?" And I said, "Sure, of course I do." And so we go down there, and let me tell you, if you have to travel in crowded spaces, I strongly recommend you get yourself 2 large, burly Tennessee State Troopers to travel with, because they make a hole. It's so lovely. It's like the people get out of your way. So anyway, we go down there, and we're standing around, and we're watching warm-ups, and we're watching the teams, do their thing. And Uga comes out on the field. I get my picture taken. I got my picture taken with Uga. It was so nice. Uga is an absolute rock star. He held a little mini press conference there in front of his. I mean, he really did. There were people surrounding him, and it looked like he was answering questions. Well, woof, 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 woof.
Uga's a dog?
Uga is the Georgia mascot, Bill.
Okay.
Yes.
Which would be a bulldog.
Which would be a bulldog, yes.
Little fat bulldog.
Yeah, man, let me tell you something, Ken.
He's eating good.
He is eating good, but he looks more fit in person.
Oh, really?
I have to say. I mean, he's got some little Uga muscles on him. But anyway, so we're down there, and we are all of us are expecting that at any moment someone's going to tell us, "Hey, the game's about to start. Time to leave." Well, I looked to Cameron and I said, I'm with you, so you tell me what you want to do. I said, "Are they going to make us leave before the game starts?" And there's like 5 minutes. They're singing the national anthem or whatever. And Cameron says, "Well, I'm going to stand down here until they make us leave." And I was like, "I'm with you." So we watched the entire first half of the game on the sidelines, which is very cool. And it was a tie ball game at that point. I imagine that Cameron wishes we had stayed there, because we went up to the back up to the little box there, and things changed dramatically after that. So good game for all. That's my Tennessee Georgia story at Sanford Stadium.
That's the way to go, Brother Murphy.
Man, it was a lot of fun.
Got down there on the field.
I'll tell you what, I would have gone in at one point. I would have. Although I don't know how often you guys get around these football players. Let me tell you something. I've been to many a football game in the stadium and in the stands, and I've even, happened to, make my way and sneak into a box a time or two. But I don't know that I've ever I've only had one opportunity to watch any portion of a game on the field, and it was about 10 years ago. And I had forgotten. These human beings are much, much, much larger than you or me or Bell or anyone else.
Yeah, and they're just kids.
I mean, and they're just 19 and 20-year-olds, but these are giant human beings.
Yes.
All of them. Like, you stand next to the punter, and he's like supersized. It's like, how did you get that big? I mean, and even like Nico Iamaleava, I think I got that right.
Iamaleava.
He is as tall as a day is long, man. I mean, he's skinny as a minute, but he is a tall drink of water.
Was it Refrigerator Perry that rescued the woman out of her own car by pulling the door off of it?
Could have been.
That's probably right. Yes. That sounds good.
Can you imagine? I need help. Here, pop. Boop. There goes the door.
I mean, these are huge, supersized human beings, and it's just amazing to look at how big humans are on that football field. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. So we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about today and everything that's going on in the world today, and I've got a lot to get into, and we'll get into it right now. So the big question on my mind and on my lips is, is the president of the United States of America allowing us to slow walk our way into a war with Russia before he gets out of office in 60 some odd days. I mean, I don't know that he truly knows. I don't know that he has any sense of what truly is going on. Maybe the inmates are running the asylum as it comes to our military-industrial complex. But it feels, Mr. President, like you are endeavoring to, I mean, I guess if you're a liberal Democrat, a war hawk, but I repeat myself, you would suggest that you need to get this done prior to Donald Trump getting into office because, God forbid, we have peace in that region of the world. But it feels like Joe is attempting to drag us into the conflict prior to leaving office. I mean, if you believe that utilizing these missiles that Americans have to program, that Americans have to operate, this is and I don't care what you think about the war up until today, when America is shooting missiles. This is America shooting missiles into Russia. Is it not? Am I looking at this wrong? This is American missile technology, and Americans have to program the missile technology, and Americans have to train. So even if the Ukrainians are actually pressing the button, everything else is American-made and brought by the United States of America, which Russia, and look, some of you might want to go to war with Russia. Some of you might want this on our plates. I don't think it's a good idea to have it on our plates. That's just me. But either way, regardless of how we look at it, according to Vladimir Putin and his people, they look at it as an act of war against Russia by the United States of America, by a NATO alliance. It's a frightening prospect, especially considering that there's no end game in sight. And you're ramping up the possibilities of what might happen prior to leaving office in January. And it seems as if you're doing it with no consideration for what the long-term ramifications ultimately might be. So we shall discuss on the show today. We had a nice conversation yesterday. For those maybe just joining us, I know people come in and out on these Mondays and Fridays leading up to the big retirement of Brian Wilson and the drive on December 24th. On Mondays and Fridays, I'm in for Brian Wilson from 3 until 7. And I think that there will be some further conversation about what we can expect in 2025 and beyond at some point down the road, for those asking. So yesterday, I had a wonderful conversation for about 30, 40 minutes or so about why in the world we are holding up on license plate readers in the city of Nashville. And it turned into an interesting discussion about civil liberties. And we might further that discussion today because I thought the discussion yesterday afternoon, for those who missed it, was a pretty good one. We had a caller that called in and said that I was hey, Bell, he called in and said that I was no libertarian, which was nice. You're no real libertarian, because a real libertarian wouldn't want a violation of civil liberties along these lines. So I want to have that conversation at some stage today. We'll talk about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and his role at Health and Human Services. You know, I think there ought to be a discussion. Look, it's for the Senate to decide. And the American people spoke loudly and clearly a couple of Tuesdays ago with regard to who we want to lead the United States of America over the next 4 years. And I put full faith and trust in Donald Trump that his leadership abilities will direct him to put the right people in the right places. However, that doesn't mean that we ought not have a conversation about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as Health and Human Services Director, especially when it comes to his position on the issue of abortion and whether or not that would impact his position at HHS. I mean, everyone wants to focus on his concern about food, his concern about vaccinations, his stance on both. But there's more to HHS than just those two matters. And will Robert F. Kennedy do something about the obesity problem in the United States of America? And it's a problem, friends. And I can't help those that don't want to help themselves, nor can Robert F. Kennedy Jr., nor is it the role of the government of the United States of America to tell you what food to put inside of your body. But you ought to know what you're putting inside of your body, especially if it's coming from a business, a corporation, a restaurant where they might be considering the bottom line above and beyond your health and your future. So we'll discuss that today. And then this is going to be an interesting conversation in the second hour, and I'm going to hold it till 1 o'clock because I think it would take over the show, and I don't want to do that. Is Tennessee, and I don't know the answer to this. I've been here for almost 3 years now. December 13th will be my 3rd year anniversary on these airwaves and in this community. I am certain that there have been conversations in the past about a subject that I'm bringing up at 1:05 this afternoon, and that is casino gambling in this state. I had an interesting discussion with a lawmaker who had an interesting take on it. I'll just put it that way. But I'm wondering what the history is, and if I can be educated by the listening audience regarding the history of the possibility. Has it ever been brought up or considered in the state of Tennessee? And is it something that Tennessee wants or does not want in the state? I mean, you have sports betting already in the state. You have a lottery already in the state. So we've ceded, for those of you that consider it moral ground, we've ceded a little bit of that moral ground. So we'll talk about it in the 1 o'clock hour. I'm very excited about that. Your telephone calls all afternoon long, 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986 is also the super text line. You're invited to join us there as well. 22 after the hour, just getting underway on Super Talk 99.7 W. Oh, by the way, the title's coming up next. Super Talk 99.7 W10. All right, friends, it's as simple as this. A lot of people think that, during the months of November, December, even January and February, that you can forego pest control or a monthly pest protection in your home. This is a mistake, and J.K. Brister and Erica Brister are here to tell you, and I'm here to tell you, that it is a mistake to do this, and U.S. Pest is here for you. U.S. Pest gives you quality control all throughout the winter months and keeps those rodents, those pests, those bugs that want to get inside of your home at bay inside of your home. Even more so in the winter months, those critters come inside for the warmth of your home and for the food that you provide that they cannot get exterior to your home. I'm talking roaches and silverfish and ladybugs and ants and all of the rest. It's time to get rid of them with full-service pest control from U.S. Pest and keep that control over the winter months. Get it started if you don't have it right now at uspest.com. That's uspest.com, or call 590-1260. 615-590-1260 for our friends at U.S. Pest. You know, friends, we heard from the weather guy just moments ago that the possibility exists that we're not getting out of the 50s tomorrow. That's right. And some temperatures are getting down to the freezing point later on in the week, depending on where you are in the state. Bottom line is this. If you don't have a quality heating system running the show in your home right now, you are at a loss, and you're probably going to suffer as a result. Let's get with Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling and make sure that everything's running as it should. Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling can get to your home, and they will get that thing up and running if it's not doing its job. Plus, if you're smelling that smell, that means you haven't maintained the unit. Let's go ahead and do that. Less than $125 in most cases. Never more than $125 for any residential maintenance call with Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. It's just a decision that they make to try to save you money. Efficient, when it's time, is an Elite Pro partner with Rheem. They can offer you financing on the next unit. You can ask them about that. Bottom line is this. If the heater's not ready, call Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. EfficientHVAC.net for more information. EfficientHVAC.net or call 615-784-4424. 784-4424 for Efficient.
New York prosecutors in the Trump hush money trial have asked the judge to delay sentencing. We'll tell you until when. Coming up at 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Think about Mr. Ken Weaver. It is 27-ish after the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So Representative Nancy Mace of South Carolina, I think Hand was talking about this earlier today. I didn't hear much of the Chris Hand show, much to my chagrin. I was out and about touring. By the way, touring this fabulous facility. The campus, Men of Valor campus in Antioch, is just incredible. I'm doing a show out there December 3rd, so I'll tell you more about that coming up. But I'll get into this Nancy Mace deal here in just a moment. It's Tuesday, November 19. It's locked for Trump Day 262. For 262 full days, I decided to grow my hair out in anticipation of a new president-elect that we got 2 Tuesdays ago. Now I'm moving on to the inauguration. I may trim it before the inauguration, but I don't think I'm going to cut it before the inauguration, just to honor our man, Donald J. Trump. It's also day 697 of our proceedings today. You can hear us on radio 99.7 FM. We're also internet streaming. Anywhere you stream music or news or information, you can stream us. And then there's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. Episode 697 on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch is entitled
Matt Murphy, daypart traitor and conspiracy theorist. Call him with your best Kamala impression.
I'm speaking. I'm speaking. No. Yeah,
Ooh, that was good.
That last one was pretty good, wasn't it?
Wow.
It takes me a minute to get into it, but once I get in there.
Got to warm up.
Yeah.
I just realized I haven't heard that voice in 2 weeks.
She kind of disappeared. I do. I love a yellow school bus.
Yeah.
What about charging your phone on the way home?
Oh yeah,
Love
that'd
that.
work. That's going to be great. Hey, can we hear the one about the coconut tree? That's all my.
You just fell out of a coconut tree?
And yes, I do. I think Ken Weaver. Hey, Bell said the worst part about Kamala getting her butt handed to her was these drops aren't any good anymore. But look,
Yeah, they are kind of dated, though.
they're always good for me. I love them.
Well, it's good to make fun of her with, but, it's not like we're going to get a lot of money. I got to find some good Trump stuff.
Well, I mean, it's not for a lack of. I mean, it's out there. Trust me. You see him. Yeah. You tell him, Donald.
Find one where he's talking like this. When he's really making a point.
It's so beautiful. It's so great. He gave me the belt. I didn't know what to do. I was so honored. I put it over my shoulder. Did you see him this weekend at UFC? I mean, he's got the damn cast of the Avengers, or it's like some Marvel movie. He's got Musk and Vivek and Tulsi Gabbard and
Kid Rock.
Kid Rock's out there. And then the back, the little brother wearing the glasses, that would be Mike Johnson. He's hey guys, I'm here too. Hey guys, Speaker of the House. Hey guys, where you going? Oh, we're going to the Going to the dressing rooms. Let's go. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm sure Mike Johnson's a great guy, but he just looked like little brother. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. out there, and there's Mike Johnson. All right, it is 12:30. It is time for the news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got a big cool down underway. We'll tell you about it during the full forecast in 5 minutes. Right now in the Big Apple, prosecutors in the Trump hush money trial have asked the judge to pause sentencing until they can figure out how to proceed. Today was the deadline to come up with a plan, but instead the court posted a note saying the hearing today is adjourned, which means indefinitely, while the court figures out how to proceed now that Trump won the election. The nation's second most populated city is about to officially declare itself as a sanctuary city. Alex Stone reports from L.A.
With the incoming Trump administration, Los Angeles' city council is poised to enact a sanctuary city ordinance, which would officially bar police or any other city agency from helping federal enforcement of immigration laws. L.A. Mayor Karen Bass.
Los Angeles is an immigrant city.
Other big cities are also making moves ahead of President-elect Trump taking office in January and his proposed crackdown on those who have entered the country illegally.
Right now in our nation's capital, FEMA Director Deanne Criswell confirming during a House Transportation Committee hearing today that FEMA has identified at least 20 homes that agents in Lake Placid, Florida, skipped during Hurricane Helene response because those homes displayed Trump signs or flags. And here in Nashville, Metro Police say the man who shot at an officer this morning has been on the run since attacking his girlfriend who had a protective order on him.
The individual did not stop, started to run. Officer Ziegler again told him to stop, and the individual, the 21-year-old, fired a shot as Officer Ziegler was attempting to get him to stop. Officer Ziegler returned his fire, and the individual was struck in the buttocks and the leg.
Yeah, 21-year-old Nicholas Lane is at Vanderbilt getting treatment. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
It remains a dangerous world, and we recognize that. I don't wish any violence, workplace or otherwise, on you, but the fact of the matter is you need to be trained because hope is not a plan. Where do you get that training? I recommend Defend Systems. They're an active shooter and physical security expert company right here in Middle Tennessee. Defend Systems is designed. Their expertise lies in their experience. For nearly 2 decades, they had experience with the Metro Nashville Police Department. They have many former Metro Nashville police officers working with them. And Brink Fiddler understands how to help you understand the possibility of workplace violence, how to mitigate said same, site surveys, threat assessments, security improvement consultation, emergency and intruder action plans, training for your employees, all available through Defend Systems. Bottom line is this. Hope is not a plan. If you're a decision maker when it comes to your place of business or an operation where you allow people in of any type or sort, like a school or a church, it's time to get trained in this dangerous world. Call Brink Fiddler to find out more at Defend Systems, defendsystems.com or 615-236-6484. 236-6484. Call today. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We continue Matt Murphy Show. I was just looking at what I think is somewhat of an insurrection going on at a Senate office building. I mean, if I understand the term insurrection correctly as defined by liberals, let's see here. Let me see if I can get some audio up on this. This is happening 30 minutes ago at a U.S. Senate office building. Palestinian protest. Bunch of red shirts. Have your finger on the dump button, Bell. I haven't previewed this, so somebody might throw an F-bomb out there. I don't know. Insurrection happening right now in the Senate building, one of the Senate office buildings by pro-Palestinian protesters. Fun jobs, not genocide, it says. But, oh, yeah, they're ripping the signs down. Police are ripping the signs down. Oh, yeah, this is a full-scale government insurrection that's going on right now, as defined by liberals. And they're defying the police. They're running from the police. Police are trying to cordon them off, take away their signage. They're now engaged in some form of sit-in. There are multiple people with masks on, which indicate to me that these are stupid people. I mean, you know, the medical mask, not like ski mask.
After this is not an insurrection.
Well, because they have the mask on.
No, because you have to be a Trump supporter for it to be an insurrection.
Is that what we're to understand now?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
this is just
it's not an insurrection.
This is free speech and protest.
Stop arming Israel, it says. Oh yeah, they're rabble rousing there in the Senate office building in Washington, D.C. as we speak. So I guess, according to Bell, that's not an insurrection, though, because these aren't Trump supporters. These are supporters of a Palestinian state that has been run by an organization that is a terrorist group for the better part of 2 decades now. It's always good to reset this to make sure that people, even in the back, can understand it. I try to explain it in a way that those of you in Anionic can get it. When you hear people talking about Palestine desiring to be free, Israel left the Gaza Strip in 2006, and they secured their own borders for fear that terrorists would come across their borders and kill Israeli people, as they have done for my entire lifetime since the existence of Israel. You can argue the existence of Israel, but you will not get very far in arguing with me that most of the individuals, if not all of the individuals in any level of political power in the Palestinian region are anti-Israel and want to push Israelis, the Jews, into the sea and destroy the Israeli state. So anyone talking to you about the Palestinians deserving to run their own country, they have had the ability to run their own region, and they had every ability in the world to set it up in a way that it would be formally recognized by more countries around the world for 18 years now, since 2006. Sadly, with the billions and billions and billions of dollars, and it is a tremendous amount of money. We might be talking about trillions at this stage. The amount of money that flowed from the United States of America and from other countries around the globe in an effort to stabilize the West Bank and stabilize Gaza. So you don't hear a lot about the West Bank because the West Bank wasn't taken over by the radical Hamas group. The West Bank was taken over by the remnants of what was the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, Yasser Arafat's group. Well, believe it or not, Yasser Arafat's group now in that region of the world is the sane group. They're the sane ones. And you're hearing much less about unrest in the West Bank because they don't want what happened to Gaza to happen to them. And rightly so. Plus, the Israelis are not messing with you unless you mess with them, like happened October 7th of 2023. All that to say, any suggestion that the Palestinians demand that they have the ability to control their own territory, they've had you answer that by saying they've had the ability to control their territory for the last 18 years. And sadly, the elected leadership of that region made the decision to use the billions of dollars that were given to them in humanitarian aid, the billions of dollars that were given to them to reconstruct their neighborhoods, to reconstruct their office buildings, and to make life better for the citizens in that region of the world. You know what they spent that money on? Tunnels and guns and terrorism and death, anti-Jew hatred, propaganda. And all of those things led to a fateful day last year, October 7th, when they saw that region of the world being further normalized. Most commentators on our American media won't talk about this because it gets to the root of what happened last year. Just before October 7th, it was announced that Saudi Arabia would be meeting with Israel, and the plan would be to further normalize relations with Israel, something that had happened with other countries in that region of the world. Jared Kushner, formerly of the previous Trump administration, was a big part of making a lot of this happen. The Iranians could not have Saudi Arabia normalizing relations with Israel. And so they had to do something to upset the apple cart. And their answer was to sacrifice tens of thousands of Palestinians at the altar of hatred and anti-Semitism. It's what happened. And I'm willing to get other perspectives on this, but I don't know that you'd be willing to call me, because you have to come at this with facts. Not with emotion, not with feelings. Nobody wants to see death. Who's responsible? Hamas, Hezbollah, and by extension, Iran. They have caused the unrest in that region of the world. And Americans going to stand by our allies. We don't have to engage in that fight, nor do I want us to. But we will stand by our allies. I'm inspired by these ridiculous nonsensicals. Free Palestine. Palestine was freed in 2006. What'd they do with it? They were not freed from Israeli oppression. How so? They ran their own country. They received billions of dollars in humanitarian aid and other aid. The Israelis limited any amount of arms that came into that country. The Israelis demanded that anything that go into that country, that they get eyeballs on to make sure that they weren't bringing stuff in to do them harm. Sadly, it got in there anyway. The Israelis built walls to protect themselves. I'm perfectly willing to have discussions about Israeli settlements and land settlements and whether or not there needed to be land concessions to the Palestinians and all of those things, but only after the murder stops and you bring the hostage. We have hostage. Don't get me started. I get upset when I talk about this. We have hostages in Hamas custody right now that have been there for over a year. Americans. Not Israelis, Americans. Now, Israeli hostages would be bad enough. And these jackholes want to descend upon our Senate office building demanding that Palestine be free. How about we demand that American hostages are freed first, and then we'll talk to you about the rest. I'm willing to have any conversation with you about the rest. Just let the people that are currently being held captive go. That should be, the first point of negotiation. Then we can talk about the rest, all of the rest. 615-737-9986 if you have any thoughts on that. In the meantime, speaking of war, there are concerns about what's happening in Ukraine. It's been roughly 1,000 days since Vladimir Putin invaded areas of Ukraine. And in this major milestone, we're looking at something of an escalation as Ukraine has now fired its first barrage of U.S.-made long-range missiles into Russia. Moscow says Ukrainian forces have taken advantage of President Biden's green light. So Biden gave the green light on this. And they've launched at least 6 U.S.-made Army tactical missile systems into Russian territory today. This happening today. Russia says it shot down 5 of them and damaged the 6th. You can't believe anything that Russia says. It added that debris landed in an area of a Russian military facility, but that no casualties or damage beyond small fire were reported. A U.S. official confirmed the overnight strike to Fox News. According to Fox News, the attack came 2 days after President Joe Biden approved Ukraine to use American long-range missiles on Russian soil, which is a substantial escalation that Russian President Vladimir Putin has previously indicated would be an act of war between Russia and the United States of America. According to a senior U.S. official, Biden's decision was spurred by the decision by Russia to invite North Korean soldiers into the fight against Ukraine in Kursk. A second official told Fox that it's unclear if Biden plans to approve the use of missiles outside of the Kursk region. White House National Security Advisor reacted to Putin's decision to update Russia's nuclear doctrine on Tuesday as well. So Vladimir Putin's talking about nukes, which you might expect. He's saber-rattling to a certain degree. I believe that it's a complex situation in as much as Ukraine's not wearing a white hat necessarily. Russia's the one that invaded. And if you desire peace, first and foremost, and an end to hostilities and an end to the death, as our incoming president, Donald J. Trump, has indicated, then you're going to have to give something to Vladimir Putin. And I know that a lot of people don't want to do that. Well, if you don't do that, then you have to invest the time and the manpower, and the money, two things that Ukraine doesn't have, manpower and money, in order to defeat him in that region. I mean, if you think about it, right? My question from the beginning has been, as we slow walk our way, much like we did in Vietnam, into a military conflict against a foe that we claim that we don't have any specific beef with, be they a geopolitical foe? Sure. Vladimir Putin's not our friend. But we have plenty of countries that aren't necessarily our friend that we're not at war with. But they are engaged in a battle with a country that we do consider friendly. Now, I would suggest to you that we took a lot greater action for Ukraine, and we've spent a lot more money for Ukraine for personal reasons than political ones. Right? I mean, Ukraine was the country that Joe Biden bullied around. Ukraine was the country that allowed a business in that country to continue doing business despite the objections of a prosecutor of that country that Joe Biden personally got fired. He got fired for prosecuting a business that had employed Joe Biden's son. Y'all, we know all of these things. And if you don't believe that those things are not in some fashion interrelated with the actions that Joe Biden takes as commander-in-chief, I don't know what to tell you. Of course they are. Joe Biden's minions know what they're doing. I don't pretend that Joe does. But I've said from the beginning that our actions under the Biden administration have only been a slow and steady pace toward conflict. And I don't think the American people want that. I sure as hell don't think the people of Tennessee want it. It's 52 after the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Let me tell you, my hair is not only long, thanks to Locks for Trump, it is also thick, and in part, I thank the good people at We Grow Hair and PAI Medical for that. I went to visit them months ago, I guess maybe 6 or 8 months ago now. It was before I began my Locks for Trump campaign, so I know it was beyond 262 days. That said, I met with them and I said, I don't think I have hair loss, but you guys tell me you're the experts. I went through an examination at We Grow Hair, and they indicated that, Murph, you might not think it, but you are starting to thin around the crown of your head. It happens for men your age, even men that have a full head of hair like yours. You need to blanch that on the front end. And we're doing so with an FDA-approved laser treatment. It's a non-invasive treatment. It's great. You just spend about 30 minutes in the chair, and then it makes your hair thicker and fuller, and it prevents further hair loss. So whether you're where I am and you're just beginning to lose your hair, or if you've been losing it for a while, We Grow Hair is your one-stop shop for all things solution-based. As a matter of fact, they have results guaranteed for you. Men, make that call to We Grow Hair. 615-376-6010, 376-6010, or WeGrowHair.com. That's WeGrowHair.com.
President-elect Trump has a direct message to Republicans in the U.S. Senate. We'll tell you about it at 1 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Ken Weaver. It is just about a minute before the top of the hour. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's wrong with you? Why are you shaking your head? Bell, it's a great day to be alive. Don't do that. I'm in a great mood.
Day for this damn software to work properly, too, but I'm not getting that.
Mm-hmm. You know, for the last 3 years, you've been complaining about your software.
Hey, you keep your eyes up.
I would have thought that once you started dating again, you'd start complaining about your hardware.
Hey.
I'm going to be in my software by about 7:15 tonight.
Probably holding a cold one.
Yes, sir.
You never know. It's going to be a cold one tonight. Later on in the week, too. Speaking of the weather, that happens after the news. Speaking of the news, that happens right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Stand by.
One o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Understand a big cool down is on the way. President-elect Trump has a direct message to Republicans in the U.S. Senate. He posted to Truth Social just about 10 minutes ago. The Democrats are trying to stack the courts with radical left judges on their way out the door. Republican senators need to show up and hold the line. No more judges confirmed before Inauguration Day! Exclamation point. Prosecutors in the hush money case involving former President Trump have made their positions known on whether Trump's sentencing should be upheld or dismissed. Judge Juan Merchan will make the ultimate decision, but prosecutors say they don't want the case to be dismissed now that Trump has been elected president again. We get more from ABC contributor Brian Buckmeyer.
What they're basically saying is that they intend to oppose a dismissal of the case, and that they're asking for what's called a motion schedule, which makes a lot of sense. They're saying that they will be open to the opportunity for the defense to make their motion as to why they believe the case should be dismissed. They have some suggested due dates for the defendant's motion to be due by December 9th, and then they want to respond in kind.
Prosecutors did say they would agree to a scenario where sentencing would be delayed until 2029 when Trump leaves office. Trump was convicted on 34 counts of falsifying business records to pay off adult film actress Stormy Daniels. Right now in our nation's capital, FEMA Director Deanne Criswell is about to undergo a second round of questioning over agents skipping homes of Trump supporters in response to Hurricane Helene. She told the House Transportation Committee hearing this morning it happened about 20 times in Lake Placid, Florida. Her next stop is the House Oversight Committee, getting underway right now. And House Speaker Mike Johnson says trans-identifying men will not be allowed to use women's bathrooms on Capitol Hill. It comes after South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace filed a bill to keep Sarah McBride, a man who identifies as a woman, who will present Delaware in the next House from using the women's bathrooms at the Capitol. And here in Nashville, a police-involved shooting at a local apartment complex early this morning. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Have you guys seen Mark's new show, the Nashville Safe House guy? Mark with the Safe House has a show on Saturdays. I think it's at 5. Right. Hey, Belle, when does Paul Winkler's show end?
At 6 p.m.
Is that when Mark's show?
No, it's 5 now. It's 5 now.
Yeah, that's when Mark's show
Safe House
starts
Security
at 5 o'clock.
Show.
Yeah, Safe House Security Show at 5 o'clock on Saturdays. If you have not checked that out, you need to check that out. And Mark's doing a great job with that show on Saturdays, keeping you safe and talking about all things safety in your home. And if it's a safe that you need, it's time to get to Nashville Safe House because it's what they do. They do safes, they do vault doors, they do tornado shelters, and that's just about it. I mean, they do biometrics for the bedside as well. They have an incredible selection of safes. I mean, it's hard to believe. It's also hard to believe that once you walk through the rows and rows and rows of different safes, gun safes and corporate safes, jewelry safes, etc., that you'll also notice that there's about, 200 or so in the showroom, and that's only about a third of what they have because they have many, many more additionally in the warehouse. They have a safe that's right for you, and they have all brands, all makes, all models, all fire ratings, and all price points. It's the Safe House. Nashville Safe House wants to see you. Go to NashvilleSafeHouse.com online or 4th Avenue South in Nashville across from City Cemetery. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Nashville Safe House. Hello. It is the Matt Murphy Radio Show, Super Talk 99.7 WT, and thanks for being around. Have not jumped on the phones as of yet. We will do so. No waiting right now. 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986. If you'd like to be a part of the show via the telephone lines, you can also hit us up on the super text line, same telephone number, social media up and available as well. If you're not following me at Matt Murphy Show on the X machine, I would invite you there. It is a cesspool full of awful people spewing nonsense and awful things, and I absolutely love it. Love it. Love it. Find me at Matt Murphy Show. That's at Matt Murphy Show. Plenty of pithy and nasty comments made by me and a lot of commentary about what's going on in the world there that you don't get on the radio. Speaking of the X machine, I put up a, hold on a second. I put up a, Belle, you probably didn't see this. Did you vote in my poll? The poll that I put up?
Don't think so.
I said, okay, P1s. You want to explain to everybody what a P1 is?
It stands for priority one or what was the other word? Preference one.
I really don't know.
It's like the people that are like your most...
the people that listen to you more often than...
You're a big favorite of.
Yeah. If you... P1s are faithful, everyday listeners. It's a business term. It's a radio term. We call them P1s. So if you hear me saying P1, that means my faithful, the loyal family that is the Matt Murphy Show. Okay, P1s, I need advice on what to do with the locks for Trump. It's day 260. I posted this Sunday evening. Haters welcome to vote too. I know y'all are jealous. Do I, A, cut it, you look trashy. B, trim it up. C, keep it to hide the face. Or D, get off my lawn. Now, if you know me and know the polls that I put up occasionally on X, every poll includes an option of getting off my lawn because some people just want to be left alone. Belle, have you seen who won?
I actually, now that I'm looking at this, I do remember voting for this, and I voted for Get Off My Lawn.
Well, you tied for the win. So there was a tie in the voting. 34.6% voted to trim it up. 34.6% voted to get off my lawn.
Well, 30.9% voted to...
No, I'm looking at 34.6 and 34.6.
Yeah, but 30.9% didn't vote for either of those, so they should actually be the winner.
Well, no, that's less than... What are you doing? Cut it,
Causing
you look trashy, 15.7%. Keep it to hide the face, 15.2%. So it's a split decision on the X machine. You can find out more on the X machine at Matt Murphy Show. So I was thinking about doing it this way. I'm going to talk about casino gambling in the state of Tennessee in just a moment. I promised that I would do that. But I do want to reflect a little further on a couple of your comments regarding the war in Ukraine. By the way, 6081 says, why don't you donate it to Locks for Love? They're out there. Yes, and I would need to grow my hair probably, for another year or so?
What's the minimum length?
I think it's 12 inches.
So probably another 6 to 9 months.
Yeah. I mean, it's a...
and then they would have to shave your head to get the full length. And I don't think you want to do that.
I mean, I don't want to shave my head, but you could probably get it pretty close without completely shaving it.
Shave it.
No.
Shave it.
No.
Shave bald.
Stop. I'm the chaos man. You don't get to be I'm the chaos guy. I'll tell you what. I'll shave mine. You shave yours.
Bald lumpy head.
Shave yours. Shave mine.
No.
Double shave.
Nope.
More locks for love. Don't you care about the kids?
Nope.
You do not.
Do not care about the kids.
But I'm supposed to.
Damn kids won't stay off my lawn. Why am I going to care about them?
That's true. So one of the comments that I received, and this is often something that I hear about with regard to the United States' commitment to Ukraine, 3293 says, and it's a legitimate conversation, it's a legitimate point, that the United States of America assured Ukraine that we would protect them for giving up their nuclear arsenal and their nuclear capabilities. And we did enter an agreement with Ukraine that we would offer them assistance in such times as they are threatened. We didn't do so in 2013. I mean, did we do it in 2013? Did we do anything in 2013? Did we just let Russia take Crimea and just... I mean, under the Obama administration, we were just like, oh, well, what are you going to do? Too bad, so sad for you guys. Belle, would you do a modicum of research and look up, if you can? I don't know what year that was. I asked the super texter what year it was. I want to say it was 98, but I could be real off.
For what? 98 for what?
It was an agreement that the United States of America entered into with Ukraine that would indicate that the Ukrainians would give up any nuclear technologies that they had in exchange for an agreement that we would assist them in any way with regard to hostilities against them. It was an arms agreement, and I want to say it was during the Clinton administration. But I could be off. I understand that America wants to be the police of the world. And I don't say that. I hesitated before I said it because I don't want it to sound like I'm knocking the United States of America. Obviously, I'm not. There will be a world superpower.
94.
Always. 94. So 30 years ago. So America takes that role on and should take it seriously, but that does not necessarily mean that we have to enter into any entanglement or engagement as a result. However, our word ought to mean something. I would balance that against the 30 years of time that has passed since, what was it called, the Budapest memorandum? That's what 3293 is indicating. Thank you, 3293, 1994. The world has changed considerably. Obviously, our agreement was probably made in the same spirit. I'm not as familiar with the Budapest memorandum as perhaps some of you, but I am suggesting that after 30 years of time that has passed, you either believe the United States of America ought to be willing, based on that agreement, to spill blood, American blood, or not. Now, some would suggest that perhaps countries closer to Ukraine should be more responsible for assisting Ukraine. Others would suggest that if we would sit down at a table and negotiate between the two warring factions, that we could potentially see an arrangement that would work out for both. Many people shut that down before we even get it started because they consider that rewarding Vladimir Putin's bad behavior. Well, Vladimir Putin's bad behavior started in 2013, and really kind of before that, but it started in 2013 when he invaded Crimea, and he really didn't see any comeuppance as a result of that. So to 3293, I mean, I would ask the question, with all due respect, I understand that good people can disagree on this point. We already gave up the idea that we were willing to protect them. We already gave up the 1994 memorandum. We did that in 2013, 11 years ago, when they were invaded and Russia took over Crimea and the United States of America didn't do a damn thing about it. Now, I truly believe the two answers here are either we negotiate our way into a peaceful settlement that has to involve getting Vladimir Putin something, or we go to war with him. What are our other options? I'm willing to listen. I don't pretend to be the end-all, be-all on this point. I think that there are people that can reasonably disagree on what the best path forward is, but it feels like Joe Biden and his actions of late, allowing for long-range missiles to be shot, allowing for ultimately what is United States of American involvement in this conflict, because we have to program those missile systems. We have to operate those missile systems. This is ultimately the United States of America firing those missiles on behalf of Ukraine. So it feels like the current administration is walking us closer to boots on the ground, closer to a war footing with Russia. In the meantime, the North Koreans have decided that they're going to back the Russians, and they're coming in with 10,000 boots on the ground to assist Russia in its effort to push back against what has obviously been a Ukraine that they never saw coming. And I suppose kudos for those guys. Charles is in Goodlettsville with a thought on all of this. Hey, Charles, glad you called.
Hey, man. So we signed that agreement jointly with Russia. That was us and Russia combined to sign that agreement. This was right around the time that Hillary was selling, materials from processing our nuclear waste to them to make bombs with. And as a Democrat got us into it. Now we got another Democratic problem with Russia again. When Obama came in, and now here we are with Biden, who's trying to swat a beehive because you really don't want to go to war with Russia. I don't care how deep the ocean is or how far it is. There's no winning that war. No one wins. It's kind of like you've heard somebody say, "Who won the fight?" And nobody wins a fight.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we're going to be, and I don't know what all we have and don't have, but they've already proven they have hypersonic missiles. They can slow float a balloon all the way across America, as China did, and we do nothing. It starts to make them believe that we do nothing because we can do nothing.
Well, and it also feels like it, as you go down the rabbit hole of this, and I'm just looking at some of the information about the Budapest memorandum, and I admit that that's not top of mind for me. However, wouldn't we make the argument, Charles, as we talk, that this thing flew out the window in 2013?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think it was bogus from the get-go. We should have never asked a country the size of Ukraine to give up their nuclear weapons when we allow a country like Iran to have them. It makes no sense. But in both cases, we're looking at, let's just face it, you can be independent or Republican or Democrat. All that happened under Democrats, and Iran, as soon as, Trump had Iran under control, within 2 weeks after he got in, Biden was signing executive orders releasing money, letting them go back to being able to finance wars everywhere. Of course, like you say, we didn't do anything about it in 2013. And now Putin's, we didn't have any problem with Putin while Trump was in office.
Well, and it should be. I mean, I think a large faction, and thank you, Charles, for the call. I don't know what the percentages are today. I know that a lot of Crimea has been pro-Russian over the years. And I'm saying 2013. It started in 2013, and I'm being corrected that the annexation of Crimea actually took place in 2014. In February of 2014, I'm looking at it here, Russian forces seized airports and other strategic sites through Crimea. The troops were attached to the Russian Black Sea Fleet stationed in Crimea, which placed Russia in violation of the Budapest memorandum. The Russian Foreign Ministry had initially denied the movement of armored units attached to the Black Sea Fleet. However, after taking full control of the military over the Crimea Russian region, they finally admitted their involvement and asserted that they were acting within the scope of various agreements between the two countries. Yada, 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 yada. On March 4th, Russian President Vladimir Putin replied to a question regarding the violation of the Budapest memorandum, describing the current Ukrainian situation as a revolution. Quote, a new state arises, but with this state and with respect to this state, we've not signed any obligatory documents. So they don't believe that they're held to that standard at all. I mean, the bottom line is you either believe that the United States of America is obligated to go to war with Russia or you don't. And I do not believe that it is in the best interest of the United States of America now or in the immediate term to engage in a foot combat in boots on the ground combat with Russia. I mean, and we also have to consider, I have no idea how Vladimir Putin thinks. Wouldn't even suggest. I mean, he's a murderous SOB. Let's be clear on it. He's not a good actor. However, you have to respect his position and try to understand it. If I'm engaged in a combat with someone or any sort of tactical engagement, if I'm playing chess with Vladimir Putin, it doesn't make him a good guy for me to try to understand how he thinks and to get inside of his head. What would you do if you were Russia? If I'm Russia at this stage, I would welcome this lame duck, do-nothing, half-demented president doing this type of thing right now because it gives me carte blanche to respond prior to Trump getting into office. So in that way, it feels like whomever is pulling the strings at Camp Biden is playing into his hands. It's 22 after the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy, and earlier today I had an opportunity to step onto the campus at Men of Valor in Antioch, and boy, was I impressed. They're growing. They have their townhomes that are available for individuals that are coming out of incarceration. They have their, I call them their bunkhouses, garden houses that are available for multiple individuals, and they're growing thanks to your generous contributions. They're building what is ultimately a center for that community to help men coming out of prison reintegrate into civilian life and do so in the right fashion, and they need your help to do it. I was talking with Alex today, and he was explaining how much they need Bible study teachers and job partners in their aftercare reentry service. Obviously, they need volunteers in the prison ministry as well, but their aftercare service is in desperate need. So if you're thinking about giving in some form or fashion, think about contacting Men of Valor to see what you can do. What a wonderful organization. They help turn lives around. They help turn souls around, and they benefit our community so much. MOVministry.com. That's MOVministry.com. And a quick note, on December 3rd, I'll be doing my entire broadcast from noon until 3 on campus at Men of Valor. So proud to do it. MOVministry.com.
Got a bit of a delay if you are 40 westbound to get to downtown from east of downtown because it looks like there's a crash off on the right shoulder between Fessler's Lane and Hermitage Avenue. President-elect Trump with a message to Republicans in the U.S. Senate coming up at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Bell, make sure Ken's not listening right now. Did you notice that Weaver's voice didn't change when he was talking about the problems on 40 westbound?
Mm-hmm.
You notice
He
his
doesn't
voice
care.
didn't.
It's not 24. He didn't care about 40.
When he's talking about 24, he's it's
a tragedy. It's a tragedy.
Yeah, right. But at 40, whatever.
65, who cares?
Yeah, well, Goodlettsville, you people knew what you were getting into.
Mass casualties in a 40-car pileup on 40. Nobody cares.
Whoop-a-de-doo. But 24, they got a ladder in the road. Watch out.
Well, you got to know better.
We pick because we love.
There
Mr.
was
Weaver.
a ladder in the road, by the way, on my way home Thursday.
I put it there so you can find
The
it.
world is going on.
Did you pick it up?
No.
No, pick it up.
I think Brother Jay Harper did.
Yeah, well, good for him. All right, 27 after the hour right now, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So, look, just to put a capper on this, and yes, one of our loyal listeners reminded me, and it's true. I should be more clear when I talk about these things, that that the Ukrainian people in and of themselves, the Ukrainian government in and of itself, did not create nuclear arms. Those arms were there upon the annexation of the Ukraine after the fall of the Soviet Union. So this was a part of the cleanup. The 1994 agreement was a part of the cleanup after the fall of the former Soviet Union. And Russia, by and large, abided by most of the rules of that agreement until 2013 into 2014. You know, there was some problems with Belarus prior to their annexation of Crimea, which they engaged in 2014, which another listener, Tim, noted was during the same time that they had the Sochi Olympics. And, they, you know, it was a kind of a little bit of a gutsy move doing so during the time that they were hosting pathetically hosting the Olympic Games, I might add. So there's that. When we return, I'm interested, genuinely interested, in where Tennessee is on the issue of gambling. Now, we have gambling in the state of Tennessee in the form of a state-run lottery. We have gambling in the state in the form of online or, you know, social. I call it social media betting, but it's not really. It's online betting. Download an app and you can bet or whatever. And you hear those companies from time to time. And look, I'll tell you where I'm at on it. It is one man's individual choice. I believe that we are created as free men with free will, and that we have the ability to do with our money, or we ought to have the ability to do with our money, that of our choosing, so long as we're not depriving others of their own individual rights and liberties that they enjoy. That is to say that if you choose to utilize some money as an entertainment option by going into a casino-style facility and spending some money on gambling and whatnot, that's your choice. I would expect that grown people understand that they don't build those casinos on winners. They build them on losers. And that, for the most part, you look at that as spending money on entertainment as opposed to a way to generate money. Looking at it that other way is just a fool's errand, and it's coming to no good. But I also believe that just as we have rights and liberties in the United States of America, we ought to be responsible for ourselves, and it is not up to the government to nanny state us in such a way that they look over us and tell us, wag their fingers and tell us what isn't good for us and what is good for us and what we shouldn't do and what we should do. And so I take a very libertarian approach when it comes to things like gambling. The specific question that I would ask, do you believe that Tennessee would support limited gambling facilities? Now, it would take a vote of the Tennessee state constitution. In other words, the people of the state of Tennessee would have to vote to change the constitution to allow for casino-style gambling in this state. We are surrounded by gambling. There's gambling in Arkansas. There's gambling in Mississippi. There's gambling in Virginia. There's gambling in North Carolina, Kentucky, but not in Tennessee. I do not ask this question as a way to sway you in one way or the other. I'm genuinely curious where you are on the issue. 615-737-9986. It's the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got an overturned vehicle, and it is impacting folks on Briley Parkway eastbound to try to go northbound on 65 north of downtown. It's got that entire off-ramp blocked. Got another issue to tell you about. This is for folks trying to get to downtown from east of downtown. 40 westbound between Festus Lane and Hermitage Avenue. Got a crash. It's off on the shoulder, but still blocking, actually causing a bit of a slowdown there because you got to get over. Well, full forecast coming up in 5 minutes where we'll tell you about a cool down underway that some forecasters are calling major. President-elect Trump has a message for Republicans. He posted to Truth Social about a half hour ago. The Democrats are trying to stack the courts with radical left judges on the way out the door. Republican senators, Trump says, need to show up and hold the line. No more judges confirmed before Inauguration Day! Exclamation point. Prosecutors in the hush money case involving former President Trump have made their positions known on whether Trump's sentencing should be upheld or dismissed. Judge Juan Merchan will make the ultimate decision, but prosecutors say they don't want the case to be dismissed now that Trump was elected president. We get more from ABC News contributor Brian Buckmeyer, who says prosecutors didn't oppose delaying the case until 2029 when Trump leaves office.
There's a greater chance that we do not see Donald Trump sentenced if the prosecution is joining in the application to pause the case, because the case would be paused almost indefinitely. I can only imagine be brought back up after the presidency is done, because there wouldn't be any sentencing while he's a sitting president.
Right now in our nation's capital, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson offered up his views after a bill was filed to keep men who identify as women from using women's bathrooms at the Capitol.
For anybody who doesn't know my well-established record on this issue, let me be unequivocally clear. A man is a man, and a woman is a woman, and a man cannot become a woman. That said, I also believe, that's what Scripture teaches, what I just said, but I also believe that we treat everybody with dignity. And so we can do and believe all those things at the same time. And I wanted to make that clear for everybody because there's lots of questions. But that's where I stand. I've stood there my whole life, and those are facts.
South Carolina Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace introduced a proposal today that would ban transgender women from using women's restrooms and locker room facilities on Capitol Hill in direct response to the first transgender member of Congress, Democrat Sarah McBride of Delaware, who will begin her term in January. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
All right, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy. Thank you for being around with us. What's the, I haven't looked outside lately. What's the day look like? You got the window up over there? What are we
It's
looking
a little
like?
cloudy and overcast.
Spit and rain.
See, Ken Weaver doesn't know. He's in News Closet. He doesn't have a window.
He's got no window.
I've got cameras, boys.
Well, that's true.
I know what's going on, especially on I-24.
Ken Weaver's like Mr. LPR over there. He's got cameras everywhere.
Yes, sir.
Spit and rain, and I guess we need it. I guess we're still in a quote-unquote drought, and cool conditions coming in to the community a little bit later on. Not exactly Chamber of Commerce weather, but we'll take it. All right, so the question on the table is this, and let me just present this to you in this way. I talked about this ad nauseum in the state of Alabama. There were warring factions within the state of Alabama that were desperate to see gambling in the state. There were the Porch Band of Creek Indians that established tribal territory and legally established political sovereignty over and above the state of Alabama with regard to what they were able to do on their property. So the Porch Band of Creek Indians were allowed to operate, quote-unquote, casinos with gambling-type devices that they called bingo devices because they took advantage of the fact that Alabama had a law allowing charitable organizations and church groups to operate bingo games. Okay, so you got the Porch Indians, and then you had a man by the name of Milton McGregor that ran some gambling operations for a number of years, legally and illegally. And then you had another faction that was called the quote-unquote Green Track faction. I say all that to say this. These political factions warred amongst themselves for years against those that did not want to see gambling in the state of Alabama, and against those that did not want to see little fiefdoms pop up in the state for years and years and years, and they could never come to a consensus, never come to an agreement. And that's all well and good. Whatever. That's the way that politics works, I suppose. But it occurred to me the other day, and I asked a lawmaker about it, who will go unnamed, because I don't want I don't want anyone to think that this is this individual's political position on the matter, because I don't believe it is. But I asked why, because I've only been in Tennessee for 3 years, considering what's happening on Lower Broadway. Let's just take Nashville, for example. And I understand many of you don't go to Lower Broad or whatever, but I also understand that the amount of money that comes into this state, I'm not unaware of this, and nor should you be. The amount of money that comes into this state through tourism dollars, people coming to Tennessee Titans football. Did you see the crowd Sunday afternoon? It ought to be embarrassing to the Tennessee Titans that this happened, but the crowd that was in Nissan Stadium Sunday afternoon was 60% Minnesota Vikings fans. All of those people came here for what? Well, they came here for a football game, sure. But what did they also do while they were here? They stayed in hotel rooms, and they went up and down Lower Broadway, and they went to the bars, and they drank, and they ate, and they spent their money. Look over in Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge at the popularity of these regions, especially this time of year during the fall months. Look over in Memphis even. As bad as Memphis has it, Memphis has a few things that people come to see, particularly Elvis and Graceland. But there's other stuff, the Peabody Hotel, and, there's other things over there. Big old Bass Pro Shops in that pyramid. All of these things matter when it comes to our tax dollars and the amount of money our politicians expect out of our wallets. I understand that we have, for the most part, conservatives running the show in the General Assembly. But I promise you this, if tourism money dries up, they're going to want their money somehow, some way. One of the reasons that I am philosophically against the idea of state money going toward private ventures like a football stadium or an entertainment venue. And while I will state that every time we talk about it, one of the reasons that you didn't get a lot of pushback from me is because I understand that you have to keep up these facilities in order to keep people coming to your community. Now, it happened a long time before I was here, but I understand the income tax pushback that occurred that the great Phil Valentine was such an intimate part of. This radio station was such a part of. I can tell you this. The politicians will never not want their money for the projects that they want to engage in. And if the tourism money dries up, they're going to get it some way else. Now, all of that to say, I wondered when I first got here, had there ever been a consideration regarding casino-type gambling in Tennessee? Now, you can go down to Tunica, go over there to some of those casinos and see how they're doing. I mean, I suppose the casinos are doing well. I don't know that the community's necessarily doing well because there's not really a community around there. You can go to facilities in Kentucky. You can go to, and I don't think they have traditional casino-style gambling there. I'm just wondering what the temperature of the state of Tennessee is. Do you want it? Do you not want it? 615-737-9986. Do you care? Or are you absolutely 100% against it? Now, I ask this question because, Bell, I mean, think about it. Over on that East Bank, you know, they're cleaning up the scrapyard over there. They're building that new stadium over there. They want to have an entertainment district over there. What do you imagine a big old fancy casino would do for that region of the...
I think it'd make it look pretty sexy.
I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Not at all.
I mean, nobody's forcing us to go.
Get me a nice little riverboat ride from Madison down to the East Bank.
Down the Cumberland?
Yeah, then I'll bring my money. Let's do it.
Oh, yeah. A little stop-off points all along the Cumberland?
Absolutely.
Oh, you don't think they'd do that? Let you gamble all the way there, gamble all the way home, and gamble while you're there.
Gamble while you're riding, gamble while you're stopping.
Oh, you ever been to Vegas?
No, I've been to Reno, though.
Did you fly in?
Yes.
Or drive?
Yes.
Flew into Reno?
Yeah.
Did they, when you got what were your thoughts about the airport when you landed?
Because it was a really nice casino.
See, I've never been to Reno, but I know the first thing you see when you get off the plane and get into the gate at the Las Vegas airport, whatever it's called, I think it's Harry Reid Airport or something like that now. You see slot machines.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. It's a casino that takes airplanes. It's not an airport.
615-737-9986 if you have comment on this. So here's my idea, and I just throw this out there, and I'll get to you in a second. So 4 charters. So this is the change of the Tennessee Constitution. 4 charters to be bid on by 4 separate entities or maybe all the same entity. I don't know. I don't know all of the intimate details. But if you had 4 charters, I would expect that one of those would eventually land in Memphis, 2 would land in Nashville, and 1 would land in like Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, which would be more the greater, Knoxville region of the state. Ann's got thoughts on this. Hello, Ann. I'm glad you called.
Yes. Hi there. I wasn't born here, but I got here as soon as I could. I've been here since the 70s.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I know, I have to tell you something. I can tell you are really new here. You are really, really new. It has taken forever to even get that lottery. People here did not want gambling in any form. And the way they finally got lottery, I mean, they were against the lottery. And the way they finally got the lottery, you will notice it is attached to 2 years of free college for our children.
When did the lottery come to Tennessee?
It's not been terribly long. I don't remember because I'm not really a lottery person. Maybe your guys can Google it for you, or maybe they remember. It's not been a really 10, 12 years, maybe 10. But I'm telling you, unless we've had a lot of people move here, the way I worked for an airline, fly somewhere, gamble, come home. Gambling brings a whole new set of issues. And I think people are coming here for our music. And I think people are always going to be coming for our music. And then we added the sports, and we've got your race car friends and stuff. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm just telling you that it used to be, this is still the Bible Belt, and gambling is a big issue.
Well, I mean, that's why I asked the question, and not to necessarily throw where I'm at on it. I'm probably a little bit different than most, but that's standard. But I'm genuinely interested in how people feel about it. The lottery was incorporated in 2003 in the state of Tennessee, so it's been around for 21 years.
Oh, 21, gosh. Okay. Well, I don't gamble, but my daughter sure got those 2 years of college.
Well, I mean, that's certainly a benefit. Thank you, Miss Ann, for the telephone call. And once again, I mean, I've been around for a minute. I'm not as long as many. I don't know that we've had this conversation specifically, and I understand where I'm at. I lived in Alabama for 20 years. I would dare say that Alabama is the buckle of the Bible Belt, maybe the chastity part of the Bible Belt. I grew up in Georgia, so I'm familiar with the Southeast, and I understand. I also understand the Southeast is changing. I believe that, and maybe I am completely off the mark here. I believe that Christians generally are changing their attitude about gambling over the last 20 or so years. Now, I know that that's going to change from person to person. I'm not casting any aspersions. I'm just making an observation. 615-737-9986. We'll get to your calls momentarily. It is 10 until 2 on Super Talk. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy, the Dr. Gill Center wants to ask you a question, and I have that question as well. Are you tired of living in pain? Do you feel like no one is listening to you when you talk about your pain issues? You have choices when it comes to your care. The Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief, they do things differently. They take the time to listen, they understand, and they create a personalized one-on-one solution just for you. What would you do if your pain was gone? Imagine the freedom and the possibilities. At the Dr. Gill Center, they've helped thousands of people like you. As a matter of fact, they've helped yours truly. That's right. I'm not just a spokesperson. I'm a patient of Dr. Gill's, Dr. Wendy, Dr. V, Dr. Dominic, and the rest of the team. I love these guys, and I love how they help you alleviate pain without having to pop pills, without having to shoot up needles, without having to consider surgery. Call today, 615-882-4838. That's 615-882-4838, or visit their online site, callmepainfree.com. That's callmepainfree.com. Let's work together and make a pain-free life a reality for you and your family with the Dr. Gill Center.
Several vehicles are piled up eastbound 40 right before Briley Parkway. That's going to be causing a problem all the way back to the 40-24 split. Also looking up here north of town, looks like Briley Parkway eastbound got an overturned vehicle that has closed the ramp to go northbound on 65. And President-elect Trump announces another cabinet pick. We'll tell you about it at 2 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Ken Weaver.
You caught it too, didn't you?
No, I heard it. Oh, I absolutely
It's like he
heard
just
it.
absolutely didn't care until 24 came into it. It's like, whoa, I need to pay attention to
And
this.
caught in his throat there for a second. I understand. The man has PTSD when it comes to I-24. No question.
That's believable.
Don King writes in and says, Indian casinos have Class 2 video games. Look, Don, I don't pretend to be the world's foremost expert on Indian gaming and the Department of the Interior and the differences between the rules regarding Indian gaming and gaming in the rest of the state. But I promise you I know more than most because I lived in Alabama for 20 years, and this was a huge point of contention. I remember when then Attorney General Bill Pryor, who is now sitting on the 11th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Atlanta, Georgia, went after the Wetumpka Band of the Porch Creek Indians. And I told the Attorney General at the time that he didn't have a leg to stand on because I know what the rules say regarding the sovereignty of Indian lands and the fact that you define what Indians do based on federal law, not based on state law. Indians can't do anything more than what the states do, but part of what the states do is defined by the federal government. I don't mean to be too complex, but yeah. So you're right. You are absolutely right that Indian casinos are looked at far differently than other casinos in the rest of the state. And the state has a lot to say about other casinos where they don't have anything to say, or they don't have as much that they can say about Indian casinos. The issue in Alabama and probably in Tennessee too, and maybe some other parts of the world, is that if you allow a state-run lottery, then you must allow a certain level of class gaming for Indian casinos that can take different forms. In Alabama, it took the form of bingo machines that look like slot machines. They're not really slot machines. They're really bingo machines, but they perform as slot machines. They really function as the same thing. That is a very complex way to say that these are complex issues from time to time. I'm just curious where you are. And we got Blake and William, Slacker, Larry, and John, not necessarily in that order. And one line, line 4 is available, 615-737-9986. We'll kind of take the temperature of the room, if you will, regarding whether or not you would support limited gambling facilities in this state. More to come. One more hour to go, as a matter of fact. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN, online always, and on your TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. Hang in.
2 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, updating you on traffic again. I'm looking at multiple vehicles piled up there eastbound 40 right before you get to Briley Parkway. That's backed up all the way to the 40-24 split east of town. And looks like we're still working that crash that's off on the shoulder 40 westbound at Fessler's Lane. Well, in between Fessler's Lane and Hermitage Avenue. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Well, President-elect Trump says billionaire CEO of investment bank Cantor Fitzgerald, Howard Lutnick, will serve as U.S. Secretary of Commerce under his administration to lead what Trump calls his tariff and trade agenda. Trump also urging Republicans in the U.S. Senate to stop what he says is the Democrats trying to stack the courts with radical leftist judges before they lose control of the chamber. He says no more judges before Inauguration Day. Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, Missouri Republican U.S. Senator Josh Hawley says Europe needs to do more to help Ukrainians defend against Russia conventionally after President Biden gave Ukraine the green light to use long-range U.S. missiles into Russia.
Only we can provide the nuclear umbrella. So the United States will continue to provide the nuclear umbrella for Europe. Only we're in a position to do that. But we need our European allies to step up and take the lead in deterring Russia going forward.
Hawley also suggests that President-elect Trump could facilitate negotiations. House Leader Hakeem Jeffries won re-election today as the Democratic leader. receiving support from his colleagues despite the party's inability to win back majority control of the chamber in the November election. Jeffrey said, "We are prepared to work hard to find bipartisan common ground with our Republican colleagues." Then in the same breath, "But at the same period of time, we will push back against what he calls far-right extremism whenever necessary." Prosecutors in the hush money case involving former President Trump have made their positions known on whether Trump's sentencing should be upheld or dismissed. Judge Juan Merchan will make the ultimate decision, but prosecutors say they don't want the case to be dismissed now that Trump was elected president. Here's Aaron Katursky.
Donald Trump was convicted by a jury of his peers of all 34 counts. And so the district attorney's office, as you'd expect, I think, does oppose this idea of tossing out that conviction just because Trump was elected. They are two separate things in the eyes of the prosecutors. However, they understand the reality here, and prosecutors do not oppose delaying the sentencing and every other matter associated with the criminal case until after Trump leaves the White House in 2029.
And we're learning more about the person who died from a nationwide E. coli outbreak linked to organic carrots. Alex Stone.
One person has died while dozens more have gotten sick. The person who died was here in Los Angeles County and was over 65 years old and had other health conditions. Dr. Leonardo Rodriguez is an emergency medicine provider and says the elderly with pre-existing conditions are the most susceptible to E. coli being deadly.
Anyone immunocompromised, so whether it's cancer, on chemotherapy or not, diabetics, pregnant women, these are your at-risk population for this type of bacteria.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy. You know, the holidays bring traditions, and traditions are very special because they give us a chance to pause and reflect and connect with what really matters. Well, holiday season is upon us. Kraft Body Scan has a unique idea for a new tradition that's all about health and peace of mind. Right now, they are offering a buy one, gift one special for couples on their full body scans through December 31st. That means for just $2,400, just over $2,400, you can get a full body scan. This is an incredible scan. It's going to look over every aspect of your body. Plus, you get an additional one for your loved one completely free of charge. Think about that. One quick, non-invasive scan. You'll have an incredible picture of hidden health issues like heart disease or cancer long before symptoms appear. This kind of peace of mind is priceless. Taking charge of your health is one of the best things that you can do for one another this holiday and all the holidays to come. So visit craftbodyscan.com for more information. That's craftbodyscan.com, or call 615-436-1000, 615-436-1000 to ask more about the buy one, gift one special today. Man, oh man, time is flying by, is it not? Time is just flying right by. You know what I'm trying to do, Belle? I'm trying to get away from the microphone just a little bit more, so you might have to adjust your settings in there as I do that. I'm trying not to eat the mic as much. So I'm working on it. I've only got 25 years of practice in eating the microphone, but I'm attempting to do my best. 615-737-9986 if you want to get on board. A full bank of telephone calls to talk about gambling in the state of Tennessee. I'm truly just trying to get a temperature check on this. We've not really talked about this in the past, and obviously the presidential election took up a lot of our time over the last however many months. I do need to clear up a couple of things before we go back to the phones with regard to breaking news. Earlier today, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office said that it would agree to postpone Donald Trump's sentencing in his hush money case, giving prosecutors time to litigate the president-elect's expected motion to dismiss the case. His expected motion to dismiss the case. In a letter to Judge Juan Merchan, the district attorney's office acknowledged that Trump is, quote, not likely to be sentenced until after the end of the defendant's upcoming presidential term, which amuses me because it's a phrase I never thought that I would say in my life. The district attorney acknowledged that this person is not likely to serve prison time until after they finish their presidential term. But the DA did say that Trump's felony conviction should stand regardless of his time in office. I don't believe that this thing is going much further than Inauguration Day, but that's just me. But it does not look as if there will be any effort to sentence him prior to Inauguration Day or obviously during his term in office. In the meantime, just moments ago, President Donald Trump officially named Howard Lutnick as his selection to lead the Department of Commerce. A good selection, if you ask me.
But what would I do? I wouldn't buy Fiji water. I'd buy, another brand of water. I mean, yes, you are completely correct. If we don't make that particular product, that will go up. Anybody who says it's inflation is completely wrong because the other product hasn't gone up. There's only one way to get inflation. Print more money and give it to all of us. When we all have more money, everything is more expensive. Howard, so here was the idea. Put a tariff out.
Get 'em, Howard.
And say to the company, if you come to America and you produce in America, you get a tax credit for your tariff. So come to America, build in America, and I've spoken to lots. This came from discussions with lots of industry groups, and they said, if you give us 2 years, we can manufacture in America. We'll bring our production to America, and if you give us back our tariff money, we're good with that.
So, see, Howard Lutnick gets it, and as a Secretary of the Department of Commerce, he'll get it as well, that tariffs ought to be used not as a bludgeon but a tool for negotiation purposes, to get businesses back in the United States of America and to convince companies to do their business in the United States of America, thereby improving the lives of, dare I say, American citizens. That's good news. So Howard Lutnick is the selection for the Department of Commerce. It will probably be a less controversial pick than some, clearly Matt Gaetz and Pete Hegseth to a lesser degree, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. are relatively controversial picks. And then this, we were talking about P1s earlier and what that our loyal listening base. I had a P1 reach out to me.
Jason?
No, not Jason, but may as well be. And this P1 will go unnamed. But this person said, because we were talking gambling last hour and whether or not Tennessee should just indulge in the conversation about whether or not they want casino-style gambling. And I used Alabama as kind of a launching point, my experience in the state of Alabama, to talk about the issue of gambling, to which I was told, quote, Alabama is a trash state. No one wants to be like Alabama. That was a bad comparison.
Wow.
And you know what I said to that?
Was it curse words?
No.
No curse words. What did you say?
What I said was true, but I would follow it with fair. Fair. Wow. It's a fair position. Fair.
So you spent how many years there and you didn't improve the state much?
20 years of my life. In Montgomery and then in Birmingham.
Don't put that on your resume then, that You didn't fix Alabama while you were talk show host down there.
I did my part. I feel like I did what I could do. You know, I mean, I certainly kept the liquor industry in business.
Well, okay, that's a positive. But
or I did my part on the liquor business. Sadly, I didn't accomplish a lot of things that I wanted to get accomplished. I mean, Alabama still uses their state resources to sell liquor, which is stupid.
It's ridiculous.
It's just absolutely asinine, but one way or the other. The question remains, what say you about gambling in the state of Tennessee? Larry, you'll be first up. Hello, Larry. Good afternoon.
How you doing, brother? Thanks for taking my call.
Of course.
I never knew I was slacker, Larry. I always thought I was a P1, but
No. Slacker's on line 3. You're on line 2, Larry. You're no slacker. I was naming all the people who were on the line, and I got William and Blake and Stephen and Slacker and Larry and John. So
right,
yeah.
I was just going to say, I think the only time I was slacking about listening to WTN was while I was in the CCU, and either my phone was dead or I couldn't get a Wi-Fi signal. But I'm kind of mixed on the gambling issue, and maybe you can help me out. I mean, I will buy a lotto ticket now and then when it, gets way on up there, because I'd like to be, at least half as rich as radio hosts are. But and producers, because we all know producers are rich. But you cannot listen to a game or anything without hearing all of these gambling ads and gambling stuff. And I'm all for, if that's what you want to do, as long as you're not taking bread out of your family's mouth, then you go do it.
Well, but I would go a step further, and this will freak people out, but I'll say it anyway, Larry. It's not the government's job. So even if you are making irresponsible choices, it's not when did it become the government's role to insist that people act responsibly in their own lives with their own money?
No, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, if you think about it, Matt, if you are a fisherman and you invest in a boat or rent a boat and you buy all this tackle and bait and you go out there and you're on the water for 10 hours and don't catch anything, you've gambled and lost. If you're a hunter and you invest in guns and you go out and sit in a blind or whatever and you don't get anything, you've gambled and lost.
Well, I mean, I understand what you're saying. The games themselves are set up to lose. I mean, you might be the one off, or you might experience a one off. Look, I go over, and I don't mind talking about my personal experiences. I go over to Tunica with my buddy Jay, and we have a good time. I don't go over there with the expectation that any gambling that I do is going to be a monetary resource for me or a money-making operation. I look at it as an entertainment expense.
Well, absolutely. But first of all, you get to hang out with Jay St. Clair.
Well, that's right. And that's a benefit in and of itself. 615-737-9986. Look, I understand the heavy lift that this will take. Look, and I'm not even suggesting that I have an opinion on the topic. I'm not advocating one way or the other. I'm just curious where the state of Tennessee is on it. I fully expect that the what would you say, Bell? 70% of the audience is going to be against this? The idea
of your audience? Not quite that high.
Maybe 60?
55, 60.
I think it's a majority.
Yeah, I would say so.
I think a majority of listeners would be against this. Now, the lift is next to impossible because, as I said at the beginning of the conversation, you have to change the state constitution.
Yeah. Well, that's been done, though. I mean, it would be difficult, I agree, but it could be done. And I wholeheartedly agree with your assessment that government has no business regulating these things, and it's not the government's responsibility to come and save you when you screw up.
But sadly, we seem to, even conservatives, and I don't call myself a conservative because I don't like to lie to the listening audience, but conservatives seem to pick and choose where they want small government.
Yes, without a doubt.
Slacker is next up, as we try to get to as many as possible. Hello, Slacker.
Hey, man, I'm slacking.
What's going on, man?
Hey, I'm all for it, man. I say bring it on. And the analogy that the guy before me with the hunting and the fishing, that's right. But it's not in the perspective of winning money. And I go to the casino. My wife goes with me. She loves to play the penny slot. I go there with the attitude, sure, I could win, but the odds are against me. I have a bankroll. I play it. That's it, and I leave. I lick my wounds and go home. If I break even I've got out with $10 before, and I left with $10. I got ahead, paid my gas ride home. I was happy. Entertainment, just like you said, bud.
I mean, yeah, I think a lot of people look at it that way, and you would be a great example. You would be kind of a face for advocates who would want to promote the concept of the economic stimulus that would be casino-style gambling, or the entertainment options that would be casino-style gambling in the state of Tennessee. There are probably plenty more examples of people who aren't able to act in a responsible fashion, but I just go back to my libertarian-based belief that it is not the government's responsibility to push you to be more responsible one way or the other. That is up to you, and government serves best when it stays out of that arena. Stephen is next, I believe in Kentucky. Hey, Stephen, how are you?
Hey, buddy. Yeah, man. Hey, pretty good, man. Thanks. Hey, I'm all for it too, man. You know, they've had scratch-offs in this state for more than 20 years now. That's gambling. If the state of Tennessee is going to allow every gas station and a lot of these stores to allow scratch-offs, you know, people are spending their money. They're going to gamble. It's everybody's option to choose. People that don't like gambling, then you don't have to go to the casino.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Stephen.
And people that don't want to gamble don't have to go in the casino. But for all the people that do, I say this. Right downtown on the river, right next to the Titans Stadium, get rid of Steiner and Lift. Somebody come in, put us a big, nice hotel and casino right there on the water, put some shuttle boats and shuttle buses running around the clock, going across the river and over the bridges, and bring people in from downtown. Let people come over and have fun, man. Have a nice dog park there. Have a nice little concert hall there. It's going to bring a lot more money and a lot more people into Nashville and into Tennessee and other cities in our state as well. So I love it, man. I love taking $50 down there and sitting down at the roulette table or playing a little blackjack or actually a full-scale Texas Hold'em poker room would really be nice. You know, but just, yeah, that's the only thing I think our city's really missing is a really nice casino right there.
Great call, Stephen. Great perspective. And I'm not asking for any particular perspective. I'm just curious where people are on the matter. I'll tell you the way that this conversation started with me. I was talking with a lawmaker, and I just asked generally, not where this lawmaker was on either of these things, but I said, which do you think would happen first, if at all? The legalization of recreational marijuana in Tennessee or the legalization of casino gambling in the state of Tennessee. And that just kind of launched the conversation that I was inspired to have with you guys today. I'm a little bit surprised that it's not been brought up in a state that has so much tourism coming into it. Maybe it has. As the previous caller pointed out, I'm a newbie. I'm a neophyte. I'm only 697 episodes in. I'm only 3 years in or thereabouts. So I don't pretend to know the track record or the history on this matter or this issue with Tennesseans, but I am willing to learn. From Blake this time around. Hey, Blake, actually hang in there. I'm going to get to you in just a moment, but I looked at the clock on the wall, and it indicates to me that it's time to get to this. It's 21 after the hour on Super Talk. Hey, friends, Matt Murphy here for Tennessee Men's Clinic. Let's talk to you, men, because you're about to expend a lot of energy over the holiday season, right? With Thanksgiving coming up, Christmas following, maybe you're putting up lights on the exterior of your home. Whatever you might be doing, it's taking a lot of energy, and if you just don't feel it, if you don't have that energy, that enthusiasm, that drive that you once had, maybe it's your T levels. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's time to find out with Tennessee Men's Clinic. They can assist you in a lot of different ways, particularly if it's involving bedroom activity. Obviously, this is a very intimate and personal topic, and they're sensitive to that at Tennessee Men's Clinic, but they also want you to deal with it. Men, don't whistle past this graveyard. Let's get to it at the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Let's solve this issue. Schedule an appointment today. There are two locations. One's in Midtown, been there since 2014. The other in Cool Springs. For over a year now, they've been servicing the Cool Springs, Franklin area and beyond. Tennessee Men's Clinic. Give them a call and schedule that appointment. 615-208-9090. 208-9090. Find out more online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
Driving on I-40, particularly problematic this afternoon. Right now, we've got a crash on the South Loop. The two right lanes and the exit lane is blocked by several vehicles piled up 40 eastbound at 4th Avenue. A little bit further east of there, coming 40 westbound, we got a crash between Fessler's Lane and Hermitage Avenue. And then north of downtown, we have an overturned vehicle. That has closed the exit ramp from Briley Parkway eastbound to go north on 65. And Murfreesboro police asking for your help to find a 21-year-old woman reported missing by a friend, coming up at 2:30 on Supertalk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Ken Weaver. 26 minutes after the hour, Supertalk 99.7 WTN. Bell's grumpy. Otherwise, I would. Never mind. I'm not going to get in Bell's bad mood. There's a bad mood going on. And you know, I mean, between Weaver, who seems fine in there, and me, and I think I'm relatively speaking okay, there's Bell. I'm worried about him.
Well, I still don't think I'm here. I think I'm actually still at home.
I finally got him to put on his headphones, so that's an accomplishment. I managed to accomplish something. I'm going to stop messing with you.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to run a show here, but apparently that's no big deal.
I think you're trying to do other things. Is what I think you're trying to do, which is grumping you out. I think if you focused on this radio show, I think you would be in a lot better mood. Let's talk to Blake in Nashville. Blake, good afternoon. Welcome.
Thank you, sir, for taking the call.
Yes, sir.
I'll first off say I don't really have too much of a dog in the fight in this. I grew up in Evansville, Indiana. We had like a Harris casino down there. Didn't really ever hear. Of course, I was a kid. Didn't hear too much fuss about it. Also had a stepmom that worked in Metropolis. So casinos kind of always been around my life, but just never heard too much of like the negative connotation of it. I'll bring up a couple points that maybe the last guy brought up, which is, we've got lottery tickets advertised in every gas station, and that's a gas station is something that you frequent probably more than anything on your daily commutes. And then you also have the fact that we have the online gambling, like the parlays and all the sports stuff. I would say having access to your cell phone, which is something Americans are holding. Hell, I'm holding one right now. Is you could put a parlay in at any moment, but to put your kids to bed, fire up the car, drive across town to go to the casino takes a whole other type of dedication. I don't think the general population is going to be a concern to. I know someone earlier mentioned buying boats. Maybe it was pretty close to the point, but people do. I would say the people who are against it. You show me one person who's against it who doesn't have money sitting in crypto or some sort of stock market. Their whole life savings might be sitting in that. And that can be a gamble in its own. Obviously, the odds are probably better and it's not as risky. But I'd say, let people do what they want to do. Don't let the government get in it. Some of these places in Tennessee, they could probably use a little bit of the stimulation from the casinos themselves. But, I've lived here. We've never had one here. I've been in Nashville for 15 years. And let's just say, it never hurt my feelings that we didn't have one close by. That's about how I feel.
I mean, and it truly isn't personal for me because, I am blessed with the ability that if I want to engage in that sort of activity, I can go somewhere else and do it. I can get on a plane and go to Las Vegas. So it's not that for me. It's not the desire to have it for me. For me, it's more a question of where your liberty ends or where your right to live a life of your own choosing ends and where government interference begins or where the ability for government to manage or massage human behavior begins, which is what we're talking about. The government tried to do this with alcohol consumption, and it failed miserably. The government attempts to do this with drug consumption, and for the most part, it fails miserably. And government tries to do this with other aspects of human society or human civilization that it considers to be unfavorable or untoward. Gambling, prostitution, and other things. And so for me, it's more of an exercise in conversation about where you believe the government should interfere with your fellow citizens' ability to live a life of their own choosing. Most of us believe that some of these issues are for the better good. And I understand that position, and I don't begrudge it. I default to liberty. I default to personal freedom. Even if that person makes poor private decisions that lead them into a bad way, it is still up to them to chart their own course. Every man deserves to go to hell in his own fashion, if that be his choice. John is next in Nashville with a thought on this. Hey, John.
Hey, Matt, how are you?
I'm doing great, John.
So I was born and raised in Nashville. Okay.
Hey, John, I'm sorry. I looked at the clock and I'm in trouble by Bell. Hold on, because I want you to be able to speak to this because I'm most curious for those who have been around for a long time. But I got to get to the news. Otherwise, I'm going to get in trouble. So, John, hang in there. I'll get right to you after the news. Teresa, Allen, Rich, you as well. Plus, there's new news coming out of Washington, D.C. with regard to Nancy Mace's attempt to stop, quote-unquote, transgender bathrooms in the nation's capital. We'll talk about that as well. It's 30 after the hour.
.2:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. And again, it's messy out there in traffic. We've got 40 westbound between Fessler's Lane and Hermitage Avenue. Crash there off on the shoulder. Then the South Loop here downtown. Several vehicles in a crash, blocking the right two lanes and the exit lane. 40 eastbound at 4th Avenue. And still working that crash, Briley Parkway eastbound to go northbound on 65. The exit ramp there blocked north of downtown. Right now in Middle Tennessee, Murfreesboro police asking for your help to find a 21-year-old woman reporting missing by a friend and police concerned for her safety. They say 21-year-old Olivia Calentis may be with an ex-boyfriend. Her friend who reported her missing says Calentis usually texts every day or every other day. In the past, she has stayed with friends or in her vehicle, but now she has been entered into the NCIC as missing. And we have posted her photo police provided and an image of her car they want you to see on our social media and the number to call if you can help. President-elect Trump transition news, Karen Travers.
President-elect Trump announced Howard Lutnick as his nominee to be Commerce Secretary. The CEO of investment bank Cantor Fitzgerald, Lutnick has been serving as co-chair of the Trump transition team, working since Election Day at Mar-a-Lago to recommend and vet potential candidates for Trump's cabinet and senior staff. Lutnick frequently joined Trump on the campaign trail and hosted numerous fundraisers for him. He had been vying for the job of Treasury Secretary, with close ally Elon Musk even recently publicly endorsing him for that position.
Also today, New York prosecutors in the Trump hush money trial asking the judge to pause sentencing until they can figure out how to proceed. The court posting a note today saying the hearing is adjourned. So that means indefinitely while the court figures out how to proceed now that Trump has won the election. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
You know, we're approaching Thanksgiving, and the people at the Glock store, Lenny McGill and his team of incredible staff, they want to say thank you to the community that has embraced them over the last 4 years. Lenny moved here from San Diego. He could have picked anywhere. He picked Nashville, and oh boy, it's been a match made in heaven, hasn't it? I mean, the Glock store truly is a game changer when it comes to a gun store. They're more than that. Oh, sure, they have more Glocks than anywhere else. I mean, you call yourself the Glock store, and you're going to have more Glocks than anyone else. It's a beautiful retail showroom. It has an incredible, totally unique Shoot 270 shooting room. As a matter of fact, multiple shooting rooms. They don't believe in lanes at the Glock store, and we've talked about why over the years. So this November and really all year long, not only is Lenny and his team, they're thankful for you. I want to say how thankful we are for Lenny and the support of Lenny McGill and the Glock store. If you like listening to me, a Glock store is in part the reason that is possible. So thank you to the Glock store. And the next time you're, by the way, if you're looking for stocking stuffers, accessories, and the like for the gun enthusiast in your life, there's only one place to go. You might as well go ahead and get that Christmas shopping out of the way at the Glock store. Go to glockstore.com or shoot270.com. Hello, friends. Dr. Stephen Poss and Dr. Brian McLaughlin are here for you at the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. Let's discuss, because it's so important. Your sleep is obviously incredibly important, and the sleep of your partner is important as well. For those that cannot wear a CPAP machine, if you've been diagnosed with mild to moderate sleep apnea, please listen up. Even if you don't know if you have sleep apnea, I encourage you to get a sleep test, because if you do, there is an FDA-approved device that gently supports your jaw to help you be able to breathe better, snore less, without a hose, without a mask. It holds the jaw forward, and I know from personal experience because I have one of these devices and absolutely love it. Sleep better as a result. Fall is here. That means that many of you have maximized your insurance by paying the deductible. Let's not wait. Let's schedule that appointment today. They're in network with BCBS, Aetna, Cigna, United Healthcare, Medicare. They are also a preferred provider for TRICARE for the military. 2 locations in Brentwood and Murfreesboro, drposs.com. That's drposs.com. For Dr. Stephen Poss, Dr. Brian McLaughlin, and the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. I absolutely love it. Love the conversation. I absolutely love what's going on in D.C. as well. As bad, oh bad. Nancy Mace is freaking out people because Nancy Mace has decided that she doesn't want to share the women's bathroom with men. And so she introduced a bill that would ban biological males from using women's bathrooms in the U.S. Capitol. Of course, this is freaking out incoming Representative Sarah McBride of Delaware, who said that Mace's bill is an attempt to, from, quote, far-right right-wing extremists to distract from the fact that they have no real solutions to what Americans are facing. I think McBride's real issue is that McBride is the first transgender representative heading to the House of Representatives. And if Mace's proposal goes through, McBride would have to use the men's room. It's not really that hard. It's not really that hard. Look down. If you have, no matter what you think you are, and I'm going to say this way, and I don't mean to offend anyone, but this is the technical way that I have to put it. If you have a penis, use the men's room. I don't care who you think you are, or how you think you are, or whether you think you should, or whether you think you shouldn't. If you do not, use the women's room. Why is that so hard? And I understand that gender dysphoria is real and blah, blah. We don't have to talk about any of those things when it comes to this. So, Sarah McBride, you get to call. You can be called Sarah. You can be called Doug. You can be called Joe. You can be called whatever you want. You can identify any way you want to. It's America. It's a free country. But if we have gender-based bathrooms, if you look down and you see what I just described, you need to go to the men's room. And then when you make a personal commitment to take care of that business down there, then you can go to the women's room. Rich is on the phone to talk about gambling. Oh, no, wait, Rich, I promised John first. John, thank you for your patience. Go right ahead, sir. I appreciate you holding. I think you understand why.
Yes, sir. No worries.
Okay.
So give you a little, talking about the government and everything else, give you a little back history. I was born and raised in Nashville, okay? So in the 80s, early 90s, there were actually facilities around Nashville that you could go into and openly gamble. They had digital poker machines. These facilities had off-duty Metro police officers that did security in there. And these places, they knew ahead of time if they were going to be raided by the Vice Squad. And if they got raided, they would get shut down. They'd go pay a fine. A week later, they'd have all their machines back. They'd be right back in business. My mom and my aunts were big gamblers. And as a kid, we would go to these, we called them game rooms. And as long as our parents were gambling, we got free tokens to play arcade games. We got free pool tables and all of that kind of stuff. So gambling has been here, and I'm 51 years old. Gambling has been here as long as I can remember. But it's all a matter of who you're paying per se as to how long that establishment can run.
So, no, say that last part again.
I said it. So basically, what it means, I had made the comment one time.
Yeah.
How long? What?
No. You said how long that establishment can run. I say it again.
Right. So I asked the question at one time when I was a kid. I was probably 11, 12 years old, and I asked, "How is it that they stay in business?"
Oh, I see.
And the comment was made to me. It's how deep your pockets are, and you know.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're paying off. Well, I mean, I get that. I mean, I understand that there have been illegal gambling operations, sure, since the beginning of.
But they were in the open. I mean, these weren't like backroom places. I mean, these were big game rooms on main highways with glass windows, and you could see right in there. And I'm talking like the one that was on Gallatin Road was Family Amusement Center, was right there in Inglewood.
Mm-hmm.
And they had over 100 digital poker machines in there. This was a big facility, so there was one on Dearson Road. It was called House of Pizza and Games. There was one on Murfreesboro Road. It was called the Mac.
I mean, yeah, I remember when, and this is probably back in 97 or so, 96. I was in Augusta, Georgia at the time doing country music radio. And I remember they shut down a lot of operations. A lot of convenience stores had poker machines in the convenience stores, and they were not technically, they were illegal in South Carolina, in North Augusta, but they were just people were looking the other way until a woman got charged with child endangerment or child abandonment because she left her 3-year-old kid in the car and sat there in one of those places for like 4 hours or something ridiculous. I mean, it was insane.
And you can go into just about any convenience store now, and they have these digital slot machines is what I call them, because they're not cards. They're the cherries and all that different kind of stuff. And how they get around them is because when you put in your money, it gives you phone cards or it gives you baseball cards. And then what you do is if you win, you turn these baseball cards in to get paid.
Right. I mean,
that's how they get around it.
Well, I mean, I understand that they're using loopholes in the law, but the ones that I feel like, and I don't know, John, you tell me, but the ones that you're describing, they were in the open, but they were never technically legal.
No, they weren't legal.
Right.
But when you have off-duty Metro police officers guarding these places because of the money that's in them, and you have illegal gambling, there's only one assumption. Somebody's paying somebody off, and if you know ahead of time when the vice squad is going to raid you, then something shady's going on.
Well, I mean, sure, and that involves. That's just naked corruption.
Exactly.
Right. It's just right. No, I love it. I mean, I understand that. I mean, it goes to the point that regardless of the illegality of the activity, these things are going on right now. The old phrase, you cannot legislate morality. It does not mean that you can't pass these laws and have them on the books. It means that people are going to act the way that they want to act if they don't believe that what you have passed is an immoral act. Meaning, you can pass all the laws against gambling that you want, but if people want to gamble in your community, they're going to sideswipe the law and they're going to do what they need to do. A couple more on this subject. Rich is next in the borough. Hey, Rich.
Hey, Matt. I can tell you what happens when an Indian casino moves in. I lived in a small town in California when Indian gaming came in, and it is extremely destructive to communities. DUI accidents went up. Drug abuse went up. Bankruptcies went up. Sketchy people moving into your neighborhood went up. It brings nothing but pain. And I had a friend who grew up in Connecticut, where the largest Indian gaming casino is.
Foxwoods.
We saw the same thing happen there.
Yeah, I've been to Foxwoods many, many times. Yeah.
Yeah. What it did to the community was horrible. He was a lifelong resident there. His mom, lifelong resident. It brings horrible things into a community. So saying we don't want this in a giant facility and into our community is not outside of our rights as Americans, because we're not a libertarian country. We're, whether you believe that or not in your own personal philosophy, we're not a libertarian country, and we're allowed to pass laws just like we can pass a law and say, hey, we don't want men going in the women's bathroom.
Well, no, I mean, libertarianism is not a governing I mean, it's not a governing body, or it's not. I mean, we're not a conservative country either.
No, we're not.
Right. We're a
country.
constitutional republic, and so I mean, there are ways that we do this. So you would have to. I mean, I'm not suggesting that this should happen. I'm just telling you where I am on it. I believe in an individual's liberty to do things that do not harm others of their own volition without interference from government. That's just what I believe.
Yeah, and individually, people are going to gamble, but that's a very different thing when somebody going online is going to gamble than making a facility that comes into a community.
I mean, it really isn't for most people, I talk to a lot of people that are against gambling coming into their individual, and I understand why. I mean, I understand that you dilute the system, and, there's a lot to be said for that, Rich. And I don't, I certainly don't necessarily disagree with the points that you're making, but I do find it curious that some of the people that will make the same points would be willing to, they go to Las Vegas, right? So then that becomes a question of the class system rather than any sort of moral standard. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I'm not one of those people.
Well, no, that's fine.
Vegas.
Well, that's fine. I mean, but if you're willing to walk there, this is what I would say. If you're willing to walk there on the issue of gambling, then it opens the door for government interference in other aspects of our private lives that are generally considered to be a net negative in society. For example, alcohol consumption.
No, I don't think that slippery slope argument in that case works, because we don't currently have casino gambling. Letting that in isn't something that's going to break the back of freedom in Tennessee. It's certainly going to break a lot of people, but it's not going to break freedom. And, the whole problem gets down to we're supposed to be a moral, self-governed people. That's the Constitution being written for a moral, self-governed people and wholly inadequate for any else. That's the problem we get into when we get to some of these moral issues, because people are going to do immoral things.
By the way, always have.
Yeah, always have. So that's not going.
So we've never fulfilled moral self-government in human history.
No, we never have, and we never will. But in America, with our system, we're going to have to govern some things.
Look,
I just drove down the highway.
No, I mean, this is the conversation I wanted to have. I love it. I absolutely love it, Rich, because this is a good, robust conversation about where government should intervene, where they shouldn't. I absolutely love it. And I would love to continue the conversation with regard to this issue, but I am out of time for today. We'll do it again. It's 10 till the top of the hour. We'll check in with Mr. Wilson in the drive coming up next. It is a few minutes before 3 o'clock, a few minutes before we check in with the drive officially, but we've got a little preview happening right now with Brian Wilson in the drive. Hello, Mr. Wilson. How are you? Of course. Of course. Yeah, well, that's true. Something more than just memories of your money going all the chips going the other way. All the chips going the other way. It's good. Here's the question that I've been that has been on my mind. When's the last time you had a colonoscopy? I didn't do it. That wasn't me. That wasn't me. It's really not the day of. It's the yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We've all been there and done that. But I'll tell you what is not a colonoscopy, and that's listening to the drive with Brian Wilson. That's a horrible segue, and I apologize for it. Brian, what is happening on the drive this afternoon? That's pretty good. Mm-hmm. I mean, how do you manage to? And I don't want to get in front of your commentary on this, but it's quite amazing when you manage to do something that ticks everybody off. I mean, it annoys everyone. No, lost in the wilderness. And, there are some liberals out there. I'll use as an example Bill Maher. There are a few liberals out there that have been at least a little bit more intellectually honest, I think. And he's like, wait a minute. You guys are meeting with them now, and a week and a half ago he was Hitler. How does that work exactly? You demonstrate that all of that bluster leading up to the election process was just that. It was just sound and fury. Mm. Well, we look forward to that. The drive with Brian Wilson back in the saddle today on starting right after Ken Weaver's newscast, and Ken Weaver's newscast is starting right now. That does it for us. Have a great afternoon, friends. Be safe out there as it rains and drizzles on you. We'll be back tomorrow at high noon. Until then, hug your loved ones. So long, everybody.